Phaeton and the Sun, Chariot, a tragic ballad of ambition and consequence. In the vast universe of Greek mythology, where gods reigned atop lofty Mount Olympus and tales of mortals and deities intertwined, the legend of Phaeton and the Sun Chariot rings out as a tragic ballad of ambition, arrogance, and the limits that humans cannot surpass. This story, passed down through generations, is not merely a whimsical anecdote about a foolish young man, but also a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest aspirations and a stern warning about paying the price for thoughtless actions. Phaeton, son of Helios, the radiant sun god, has gone down in mythological history as an eternal symbol of blind arrogance and inevitable tragedy. The story begins with the magnificent palace of Helios, located in the distant east, where dawn breaks each day. The majestic palace was built of pure gold, sapphires, and gems, shining as brilliantly as the sun itself. Inside Helios, the dignified sun god, wearing a purple robe and a dazzling crown, sat upon a diamond-studded throne. Every morning, as the night gradually faded, Helios prepared for his grand journey. The god's strong fingers tamed the untamed fiery steeds, harnessing them to the splendid sun chariot, exquisitely crafted by Hephaestus. The chariot was made of gold and silver, with jewel-encrusted wheels, radiating dazzling light. Phaeton, the son who carried the blood of the god of light, grew up in admiration and respect. He inherited radiant beauty and a proud demeanor from his father. However, deep within Phaeton's heart always lay an unease and a burning desire to prove himself. Rumors about his parentage, that he was only the illegitimate son of the sun god, constantly haunted Phaeton's mind. He yearned to assert his position, wanting to prove to everyone that he was worthy of the divine blood flowing in his veins. One day, during a gathering of friends, Phaeton was mocked and doubted about being the son of the sun god. The harsh words of his friend Epaphus touched Phaeton's pride, igniting a fire of arrogance and determination to prove himself. He decided to seek out Helios, not only to confirm his parentage, but also to make a bold wish, an action that could dispel all doubts and assert his position. With a heart full of determination, Phaeton traversed the clouds, seeking out his father's magnificent palace. He stepped into the splendid hall where Helios was seated on his throne, radiating dazzling light. Phaeton knelt before his father, expressing his feelings and aspirations. He implored Helios, with all the sincerity and youthful enthusiasm, to allow him to take the reins of the sun chariot, if only for one day. Helios, the wise and experienced god, understood the immeasurable danger of this request. He knew that driving the sun chariot was not a game, but a sacred and responsible task, reserved only for gods with extraordinary strength and experience. The fiery steeds, Cyclops and Bront, Sterope and Ethon, Phlegon and Pyrrha, and finally Eos, were by no means easy to control. They were the embodiment of the primordial power of the sun, obeying only Helios' commands. Anyone else, whether god or mortal, would hardly be able to control them. Helios tried to persuade Phaeton to abandon this dangerous idea. He described in detail the difficulties and challenges of driving the chariot, warning of the immeasurable dangers that could occur. He spoke of the precarious path between heaven and earth, of the fierce constellations, of unexpected storms, and of the terrible heat of the sun's fire. Helios advised his son to choose another wish, another gift more suited to his abilities. But Phaeton, blinded by arrogance and ambition, turned a deaf ear to all his father's advice. He only heard the call of fame and admiration, only thought of proving himself before his friends and the whole world. Phaeton begged, pleaded, even threatened his father, putting Helios in a difficult position. Finally, because of the oath per orca elia ester yeri sworn on the sacred river Styx, Helios was forced to accept his son's risky request. An oath on the river Styx was an unbreakable vow, even for the gods. Helios, though well aware of the possible consequences, could not break his oath. The next morning, as the first rays of dawn appeared, Helios reluctantly led Phaeton to the sun chariot. He handed his son the reins, with a heart heavy with worry and a faint hope that Phaeton would be careful and lucky enough to overcome this challenge. Helios repeated his final instructions, guiding Phaeton on how to control the chariot, how to keep the fiery steeds on the right path. But in Phaeton's mind at this moment, there was only excitement and confidence. He barely heard his father's words. When Phaeton climbed into the chariot, the fiery steeds neighed loudly, stamping their hooves impatiently, ready for the journey. Phaeton gripped the reins tightly, feeling the extraordinary power of these mythical creatures. He waved goodbye to his father, then commanded the horses to begin their journey. The sun chariot began to move, initially slowly, then gradually accelerating, soaring into the high blue sky. But after only a brief moment, Phaeton's excitement quickly turned into horror. He realized that he had overestimated his abilities. The fiery steeds were not as docile and easy to control as he had imagined. They reared up, lost control, pulling the chariot off its familiar path. Phaeton panicked, trying to rein in the horses, but to no avail. The power of the fiery steeds far exceeded the strength of a mortal. The sun chariot began to fly erratically across the sky. At times it flew too high, moving away from Earth, plunging the land into darkness and frost. The highest mountains were covered in eternal snow, rivers turned into giant blocks of ice, plants withered, and life on Earth gradually faded. Then the chariot plunged too low, swooping close to the ground, bringing with it the sun's fire to scorch everything in its path. Fierce flames spread everywhere, turning lush forests into ashes, cracking the soil, and the vast Sahara Desert was born from this very destructive fire. Magnificent cities, peaceful villages, all were engulfed in flames and smoke. Humans and all creatures cried out in pain and despair. Mother Earth, Gaia, witnessing this horrific scene, could no longer bear the terrible destruction. She looked up to Mount Olympus, where the gods resided, and uttered a desperate cry for help. Gaia's lament echoed throughout the universe, reaching the ears of Zeus, the supreme god. Zeus, with eyes that saw through everything, realized that the world was on the verge of destruction. To protect life and maintain cosmic order, Zeus was forced to intervene. Without hesitation, Zeus raised his hand and unleashed a mighty thunderbolt, tearing through the sky, aimed directly at Phaeton, who was helpless on the sun chariot. The divine thunderbolt struck its target. Phaeton was struck down, falling from the chariot and plunging from the high heavens. The sun's fire on the chariot also gradually faded. The fiery steeds neighed in terror and then collapsed. The sun chariot, driverless, fell into the Eridanus River, completely extinguishing the destructive fire. Phaeton, ending his short and tragic life, sank deep beneath the river. The world gradually recovered from the disaster, but the scars Phaeton caused remained deeply etched on the earth. His Heliade sisters, inconsolable with grief over their brother's death, turned into poplar trees, standing by the banks of the Eridanus River, forever weeping tears of sorrow for Phaeton and for the folly of youth. The story of Phaeton and the sun chariot, though thousands of years old, continues to resonate, conveying valuable lessons for humanity in all ages. It is a lesson about arrogance and humility, about human limits and the necessity of control, about the consequences of disobedience and the importance of listening to advice. This legend reminds us that ambition is a powerful driving force, but if not guided by wisdom and prudence, it can lead to irreparable tragedies. Phaeton, with his tragic journey on the sun chariot, has become an eternal warning, reminding humans of the need to live humbly, to accept limitations, and always to act responsibly.